Hello, makeup friends, and welcome back to another video of makeup that I wore to the office. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest. The look that you're looking at here was from 2 weeks ago. I had thought that I had filmed all of my days from 2 weeks ago, and it turns out that I did not. I don't know what I did on the second day, but it only captured like literally 2.5 seconds of footage, which is incredibly frustrating. So I decided between the holiday for Easter weekend, where I really just needed to take a break from everything, from work, from channel related stuff, and just spend time with my family and just decompress. So between that and the lost footage, I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to post a video last weekend, and that I would then incorporate looks from this past week in to fill it out a little bit. So that's what I've done. And of course, I was not organized enough to actually make note of the different dates. So I'm going off memory here as I am watching the playback. So if I recall correctly, this look that I'm creating now was done on Monday. And on that day, I had something called an early triage conference. So this is a relatively new kind of court attendance in the family court in the area that I practice in. And it's really meant to it's really designed to try to get people out of having to bring urgent motions. So you get a short, dedicated amount of time with a judge to really discuss just one or possibly two pressing issues. And there was certainly some pressing issues going on with this matter. And both parties had brought urgent motions against each other. And so when the court was reviewing that documentation, they scheduled this early triage conference. So that's what I had on the agenda. I had never actually done one before, so I wasn't entirely sure what to expect. And it actually turned out to be a quite helpful experience, although unfortunately, at the end of the day, the parties were not able to create a consent, so we will have to go forward with an argued motion. A motion, for those who aren't familiar, is basically, for lack of a better explanation, sort of like a mini trial. You're basically putting an issue in front of a judge and saying, we need you to make a decision because we can't agree. And so it's not at the end of the matter like a trial would have all of the issues. A motion's really a little bit more directed and deals with one or two issues that need to be like a bandage put on them so that parties can move forward. So at any rate, this was my first time using the My Dream palette from Natasha Denona, and it went from 0 to 60 pretty quickly. Normally for court matters, even if I'm attending by Zoom, which I just find Zoom just tends to like mute everything down. Like you can't really see makeup in all that good detail when you're, basically filming on a potato. But I normally try to keep it a little bit more toned down, a little bit more neutral. And that's what I was aiming for with this look. But these matte shadows in particular are highly pigmented, as you can see. And so the look did kind of get a little bit away from me. I still think it's beautiful. Again, these are tones that I have long talked about how much I love them. So I wasn't particularly unhappy with how the palette was performing. It's just not exactly what I was expecting. And by this point, I mean, it's, probably 10 after 8 in the morning. We have to leave the house by 8:30 at the latest in order to get the kids to their drop-off on time and then to get into the office ourselves and all that. So I don't really have the luxury of just washing it all off and starting over again when I'm getting ready for work. So I just have to kind of adapt or just accept my fate. And so there's a bit of a mix of that going on here. Now with this palette as well, I did mention in my most recent video that if you are in Canada, a lot of the Natasha Denona products are currently on sale. So I picked this one up about 30% off, but a lot of her other midi-sized palettes are currently on 50%. I believe she's leaving Natasha Denona, I believe Natasha Denona is leaving Sephora in Canada at any rate. I am very much not in support of that decision because as far as I know, they're the only Canadian retailer that sells Natasha Denona. Having said that, I would have to look up, possibly Shop Looks has them. Hold, and I will look that up right now. I said Shop Looks. What I actually meant was Look Fantastic. I have brought up their website and I do not see Natasha Denona listed on here, although if memory serves, they used to be, but not anymore. So as far as I know, Sephora Canada is the only online retailer in order to get Natasha Denona at this point. And if she leaves, that basically means that I probably won't be buying future Natasha Denona products, because when I order from her site directly, not only do I get hit with like shipping costs, but I also get like double slammed with duties. I think because they're made in Italy and then transferred to the US and then shipped from the US to Canada for fulfillment, it just, the cost of importing that is just unreal. So typically, if these pallets cost me about $90 Canadian, I can expect to pay about $130 at the end of the day with all the shipping and customs fees and all of that. And I'm just not that fussed about it. Now, I say that at this point because who knows what she's going to come out with, but it's going to have to be really effing special for me to put money towards that. Also, who remembers Angel from MAC? That was like the brand or the shade in like what, 2015, 16, something like that. But I brought it back. I did a back to MAC before they discontinued that program, and I grabbed that one because it's pretty. So there we have it. And then I cut it off because I couldn't remember if this was day 2, day 3. I don't know. I had missed a day of footage beforehand, but again, I picked up another one of the Natasha Denona palettes. This one was on sale for 50% off. This is the Retro Glam. And what did I have going on this day? I wish I could tell you. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'm very, very happy to say that my insane, intense workload has finally calmed down. I've got all of my trial prep done. All of the urgent stuff is done. And I feel much, much better about it all. In fact, actually, as I am applying this or watching me apply this, I'm pretty sure that this was my second urgent matter of the week. And I did have an urgent motion scheduled. Thankfully, with that one, we were able to reach a consent in the 11th hour. It was about 4:30 the night before the motion was to be heard. So I didn't actually have to argue the motion, but I did attend to submit the consent and the draft order and all that kind of stuff. It was all related to the sale of the house. So we've got an agreement on that, which is going to help the parties move forward. Now, you'll see here that something wasn't quite working out all that well with this shadow. This is one of those like cream to matte formulas, and I find them to be rather hit or miss with Natasha Denona. This one, I mean, I got there in the end, but I also expected it to be a lot more brown than it was because it looks brown in the pan. But as you can see, once you start blending it out, it looks very gray toned. So I mentioned this in my most recent video as well, where I did rapid reviews, that these shadows don't necessarily translate the same on the skin as they look in the palette. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but for both of these looks that I'm doing here, this was my first time using the palettes and I hadn't swatched them. So it kind of took me by surprise. So I guess the take-home message is to swatch your stuff when you buy it, just so that you're not surprised when you're applying stuff. But anyways, I leave that to you. Sometime during this week as well, I did have Botox done. So as you can see here, I have a lot of movement in my forehead. I do have wrinkles going on there. I can lift my eyebrow, all of that. And then you'll see in later looks that I cannot. And I had put out a poll asking if people were interested in me doing like a Botox video. I might do that. I'm just finding right now I don't have a lot of time to just sit down and film stuff aside from these like what I wear to the office videos. But I will say I hadn't had it done in about a year. So I was basically back to my natural state. And in fact, this look that I'm doing here, I think this was a day or two after I had had it done. So it does take a while to reach full effect, but I'm very much more smoothed here than I would have been earlier in the week. Regardless, he gave me a few additional units of Botox, and I think it was overkill. I don't think I needed it. So when I go back again, I'm going to be asking for the lower amount because my forehead is quite frozen at this point, and I do like to be able to emote a little bit more easily than I can right now. And I've mentioned on Instagram and in a previous video that the lip flip I had done just to sort of help give a little bit more fullness to my top lip was just a little bit too aggressive, and now I can't smile properly. So you can't win for trying. Anyways, there was the finished look for this one, and ultimately I was very happy with how it turned out. Okay, so now we are on to the second week of looks here. And I was very stressed out this day. I can't remember why I was so stressed. Honestly, I think I'm just feeling the effects of burnout. And in 2022, like end of 2021, leading into 2022, I ignored my symptoms of burnout. And then I spent months trying to recover from it. Like it took a very long time. It basically took me being forced off after surgery in order to combat the effects of burnout. So I'm just starting to feel a bit stressed. I actually did take a day and a half off last week instead of just one day. I know that sounds so luxurious. I normally take one day off each week and just get other stuff done during that time. But I took a day and a half, and I needed it. Like I really needed it. I don't like to cancel appointments, but I did do that on one day because I just was this day here. I just was not in the right frame of mind to be doing with it. And it was just, I knew it wasn't going to be a very productive or helpful use of time for anybody. So I did that, and I am feeling much better now. I'm doing my voiceover on Sunday, heading into a new week, and I feel ready to tackle that. So I'm glad that I took just a little bit of additional time off to just regroup and relax and clear my head so that now I can hit the ground running again when I go into the office tomorrow. Thankfully, we've now got our new software installed. It has done so nicely this time. A few little tiny bugs, but we're working through it. So I feel like, you know, we're over the crisis that we had at the beginning of the year. So I'm feeling good about that. My God, I love this lipstick. It is so beautiful. Oh, this is one of those NYX ones. This is the shade B-Day Frosting. B-Day Frosting. My God, how many times can I say the word frosting? Anyways, it's beautiful. They're very comfortable. When I wore this to work, I didn't have to touch it up again until like 2:30 in the afternoon, and that was with eating and drinking that day. So these have amazing longevity without like drying the hell out of your lips. So then we are on to the last day from last week, and I was feeling much better emotionally as well. This day, I knew that I was going to be going to a family law association shindig, for lack of a better term. There were two local lawyers who were called to the called to the bench in 2020, meaning they became judges. They were appointed at that time. And normally there is like a big celebration when they're called to the bench. But we weren't able to do it because of the pandemic. So that's what we were doing this day. And I was excited about that. I mean, I was friends with both of these judges before they became judges. I haven't appeared before one of them because she is in a different jurisdiction than me, and I tend not to have matters there very often. But the other one I have sat before a number of times now since she became a judge, and I'm really proud of her. I think she's doing an amazing job. She's very even-handed. She runs a tight ship, but that's what we need. And I'm just so happy for her because I know how much she wanted that, and I think she's doing an amazing job with it. So I really wanted to be there to celebrate. I tend to get very, very anxious going to these kind of things. So one of my other lawyer friends was like, "You're not ditching on me. I'm going to pick you up and we're going to travel there together." And that was just a huge help because going in with somebody, like going in by myself is like the hardest thing for me for some reason. I never want to get there too early because I don't want to be stuck making small talk with people that I don't really know. I don't want to show up too late and then everybody's sort of grouped off already and I have to insert myself. Like it's I overthink it. I like completely stress myself out, hence social anxiety. It is what it is. At any rate, it turned out to be a fantastic event. But the whole point of me blathering on about that is to say, as I was doing my makeup, I had to keep in mind that it had to last even longer than I normally want it to, because this event didn't start until 5:30 at night. So you saw that I went in with the quad from Kaleidos. It's called Cold Brew. And I just love these shadows so much. I mean, obviously very neutral, but that's kind of what I wanted. And the shimmers in there, I knew they were going to last all day. I knew that they would look every bit as beautiful at the end of the day as it would at the beginning. I think I just used shimmers plural. There's only one, but it's just such a like functional palette. Like it's just so easy to work with. These shades blend so nicely. And like I said, that foiled shadow just has so much impact, as you'll see momentarily when I stop blending. And it held up all day absolutely beautifully. So it was, aside from the makeup doing what it was supposed to do, it was just really nice to connect with everybody again and not just like see them in a little square on a screen, which is how I've seen most of these lawyers for the last 2 years. So it was really nice to just spend some time with each other and just chit chat and just like feel like normal again. So that was, it was a nice day. Oh, I'm talking to, I think, Aspen, probably. She sometimes comes in the morning and she has a little lighted mirror and she sits on the floor and she puts a little bit of mascara on, a little bit of blush, and she just gets herself ready for her day as well. And we just have a little quiet moment together. I think that's really fun. I took her to Sephora yesterday and we did a little bit of sale shopping, and I got her a little concealer because that's what she wanted. She doesn't need concealer, but that's okay. So I got her a Sephora collection concealer and a lip gloss from Sephora as well. And she's very excited and very happy. And it was just nice, like teaching her about shade matching and all that kind of stuff. So we had a lot of fun over there. And I bought far too many lip products. I am normally an eyeshadow girl, but I'm loving my lip products. And I hit pan on one of my Project Pan matters. See, I'm showing Aspen there. I thought I'd just keep it in just so you get a little bit of a spoiler on my Project Pan. I was very excited about that. And then I ultimately switched out my lipstick throughout the day. Obviously started off with this one, but for the event itself, I wanted something that I just didn't have to worry about if it was fading or not. So I just threw on the Rare Beauty lip oil before that started. And I knew it was they call it a lip oil. It's very much a lip stain, but regardless, that's what I wore to the actual event. So there you have 2 weeks of looks minus a day that disappeared. I hope that you guys have had a great past fortnight, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, just be a decent human being. Bye for now.